Hi, a few weeks ago I did some work on a model for Assetto Corsa to try and tweak an existing Mazda MX-5 model to match my 116 trophy car. And I'll drop a link in here to the video that explains that and shows where you can get that model if you want to download it and install it into Assetto Corsa. I decided that I'd try to match a lap from my real session at Snetterton 300 with a sim session, which I tried to copy the way I'd behaved in the real session. In particular, there's some differences around gear changes, which when I'm trying to go fast in the sim, I change gear slightly differently to the way I do when I'm actually driving on the track. But what I'll do is I'll explain that. I'll explain these differences when we get to that. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is just play the video to show you the comparison of the real track and my lap versus a sim lap, trying to match the time. So what we have here is we have Assetto Corsa at the top of the screen, and we obviously have real onboard footage at the bottom of the screen. So let's play the video. Okay, so the laps don't match perfectly, but it's close enough for my purposes. And just to tell you what my objective is with this sort of analysis, I want to improve the model. So I'm trying to identify weaknesses in the model versus, how it matches up in with a real scenario. So let's now go through the video and pick out some differences and maybe some issues. If we look at the RPM dial on the simulator versus the one on the overlay, you'll actually notice that a couple of things. before the gear change I was about 500 RPM faster in the real video, but I'm hoping that's not going to make too much difference. Now the line around this corner is pretty much the same in both cases, but I know there's a problem at Agostini. So on the sim I've gone in too deep, braked too late, so there's a slight difference here. You can see I've missed the apex by quite a way, but I do exit at the right point, so that all looks good. So coming down here to Palmer. Okay, let's stop it just there. So here's the first issue with my sim model. I find that it understeers, particularly mid-corner, and actually it behaves a lot like my real 116 trophy car did before I increased the rake, which I did by just lowering the front down to closer to the minimum ride height at the front. So I can possibly try that on the model to see if I can get this closer. But you do notice this in other corners, and we'll see it again in a second. But it's not bad. So far so good. What are we? We're showing 38.57 on the overlay and 38.2 on the sim. So pretty close. I mean, obviously 3/10 is a heck of a lot of time, but you know, it's not bad. Okay, we're coming into Agostini now, and I take what I refer to as the Scott Mansell line, which is basically go to the middle of the track and then turn in. That's all good. I do take that in second, so we're now coming up to Hamilton. Okay, that's good, except for I go wider in the real car than I do in the sim session. Okay, now I'm going to stop again here. Now this is another significant difference. It's much easier to go round Oggies, the corner we've just been round, in second gear in the sim than it is in third gear. In third gear you can see how much it's washing out to the left, and you actually struggle to keep it actually on the track. If I look at the steering input on my real lap at the bottom there, actually I've got more turn, I've turned in more. But it doesn't get away from the fact that I still feel that the sim model is understeering a bit too much. I also feel that it bogs down a bit when I use third gear around Oggies and the RPM drops to 4,000. It doesn't feel as lively as it does in the real car. But anyway, not too bad, and we're still around aligned in terms of time. Okay, the next corner is Williams before the long straight. So that's pretty much the same. Be interesting to see the speed down the straight. Gear changes were about the same. Yeah, I'm going faster, or judging by the RPM, I'm going faster in the real car. So this again was difficult, doing this corner in third gear. I was easing off round through bomb hole there in the real car, which I shouldn't have really done. Okay, all of this looks pretty much the same. Down into third, throw it into Murray's. Yeah, pretty good. How are we doing up this straight? Yeah, again, a bit faster in the real car than the model. And I think that all really comes down to the fact that it bogs down a bit when you get down to 4,000 RPM. The model tends to bog down a little bit, which makes it that bit, just slightly slower. But anyway, not bad. Need to do some work on stopping the understeer and perhaps try and figure out how to tweak the power curve to give something a bit more realistic in terms of, power at 4,000 RPM upwards. So I hope you found that useful, and I look forward to sharing some other stuff with you when I've figured out something else about using Assetto Corsa for this purpose.